knocked down the border bill. Well, you never looked into that border bill yourself then. And you're lacking that proper information. Like my brother right here, though, he got all the information. You're lazy. I'm talking to Kamala supporters in the chat.
61.4 billion was for Ukraine.
And watch them all drop out of here once I start showing these facts.
52%. 12% was for Israel. 11% was for border security. So was this a border bill or a foreign aid bill with a border component to it? This is a classic politician move. Instead of actually addressing a targeted issue with specific solutions, load a bill.
And shout out Nicole Thompson, first super chat on the live stream. We appreciate that. You honor us, sis, with that one. Didn't want to say too much, just wanted to show some support. Appreciate you.
With billions of dollars for unrelated stuff, make the bill hundreds of pages so no one can actually read it, and then blame the other side and say, well, we proposed a solution, but you shot it down. The Biden-Harris administration does deserve credit for finally signing an executive order in June that has substantively decreased illegal immigration across the border. But the Democrats held the executive branch and the House and the Senate for the first 2 years of the Biden administration. Biden has had the ability to unilaterally sign this executive order for 3.5 years.
Yep, for 3.5 years, and they ain't did nothing because they wanted to run on it. You know, the same thing y'all accuse Trump of. So, no. Trump never called in to get some bill knocked out, and I don't know how y'all think that when y'all think he was just some bumbling idiot in office. Like, how can it be this disrespected guy in office, but yet have this power to call people and knock out bills? Like, y'all make no sense. And shout out Daniel Castro. Man, their movement is destined to fail. Their hate is not enough to shake the love and pride we have for our country. He's better than the left ideals. Yeah, he's better than the left ideals. Like, bro, look how y'all is towards this man. It's like, bro, Trump supporters, bro, we don't even hate Kamala the same way y'all hate Trump. Like, dog, we don't even hate Biden. And Biden was the one that screwed us over for 3 years. And we don't even hate him like y'all hate Trump. Like, we have more of a reason to hate Biden than you guys have a reason to hate Trump. And we don't even have that hatred in our heart. Oh, man, these kind of shows, well, I ain't gonna go that far. No, I'm not even gonna hit y'all with that.
So why is it only now, interestingly enough, during election season, that they're proposing?
Because they want to blame Trump and say that, oh, well, Trump's the one who just leaves situations out to run on them, even though the Democrats had full power to go ahead and stop this at any moment in time, anytime they wanted to. They had a good 2 years to do so, and then they waited until they don't, and then want to complain about it and say it's Trump's fault. I mean, you know, lack of accountability is the word of the day. But we're going to go down to each one. Oh, hold on. Let's go. We're going there, guys. We're going there.
I've been covering the border for years. And so I know this is not a problem that started with your administration.
Correct.
But there was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of.
Even 60 Seconds said, yes, immigration has quadrupled. Quadrupled, guys. Quadrupled. Like, damn. Like, come on now, bro. Is Trump really that bad? Like, at least immigration ain't quadruple under him. Love what you're doing, brother. I'm voting for America, man. Appreciate you, dog. Appreciate you. Commentary. Sorry, I'm having a bit of trouble pronouncing it right now.
Arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies as much as you did?
It's a long-standing problem, and solutions are.
Was it a mistake? Is it a mistake, Kamala, to loosen them as much as you did? And what's her answer?
You did.
It's a long-standing problem, and solutions are at hand. And from day one, literally, we have been offering solutions.
But what I was asking was it a mistake to kind of allow that flood to happen in the first place?
I think the policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem. Okay?
But the numbers did quadruple.
And the numbers today, because of what we have done, we have cut the flow of illegal immigration by half. We have cut the flow of fentanyl by half,
But should you have done that in the beginning of the administration, though? Because what does it matter when this is the results? And, you know, for those of y'all who, well, I would hope you're able to read graphs by now. I mean, if you can't read a graph, you might want to hop off the stream real quick. But from 2012, 2016, we're talking about the end of the Obama years. About the end of the Obama years, Obama had it pretty well. Shout out Obama. 2016, 2020, right? Trump had 2 record lows and 1 record high in immigration. He clamps down, he brings it down to a record low. Biden gets in, first official year from 20 to 2021 is Biden's first official year. Immigration has skyrocketed. And then, hold on, this man beats Trump's all-time high within his first year in office? First year in office, beat Trump's all-time high. So there's 1 all-time high under Biden, 2 all-time high, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 all-time highs of immigration crossing the border under Biden. There's some of y'all who comes with that excuse, oh, they started going up under Trump. Does that excuse it continuously going up under Trump? Like, bro, look at what y'all saying here, man. Oh, no. I got more for y'all. I got more. No. Don't go nowhere, man. I got everything you need to hear right here for y'all. Because according to Kamala,
then it is wrong to somehow suggest that an undocumented immigrant is a criminal.
And shout out Anthony Lines. And shout out Anthony Lines, man. He said, she's just so damn dumb. Willful ignorance for Dems, bro. I'm telling you.
Immigrant is not a crime. I know what a crime looks like. An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal.
Hold on. So if you're an undocumented immigrant, that means you're not documented to be here in America. It means you shouldn't be here. It means you're here illegally. And that means you're doing something illegal and it's not a crime? Kamala, how does that work?
It's not a crime. I know what a crime looks like. An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal. 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 An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal.
And I already know how y'all Kamala supporters gonna be. Oh, what's all the hate? I mean, look, G, nobody called her a dictator, did we? Nobody's told her a threat to democracy, did we? Nobody says she's just the worst person ever. She does nothing. All she does is for herself. Nobody's put that on Kamala, but y'all put that on Trump. I'm just exposing what Kamala said and what she's done, and y'all getting upset, asking where the hate's about. I'm like, no. This is where the information's at. No hate, just the information. So let's go this.
That could mean life in prison, and cases like this can depend on the testimony of the child accuser.
In general, the child will be able to recall and recollect with some detail the incident, and that is persuasive to a jury, even if it is the only testimony that is available.
Jackson gave a wave when he was released after booking. He's scheduled for arraignment in January.
Sold. Ain't that crazy? So pretty much, I'm for black men, but you was against Michael Jackson, though. You was part of the establishment that was coming from Michael Jackson. You was part of that Jewish establishment that was trying to take this man's money. Oh, and you're also married to one, too. Oh, it all is making sense now. But she was for black men, man. Get y'all asses out of here, bro. I'm sorry. Chip Son, man. Appreciate you, dog. Appreciate you. Thanks for doing God's work right here, man. No problem. Because, bro, they're going to sit here and look in our face, act like she ain't never did none of this.
Michael's been a long-time resident of Trump Tower, and last night the Donald strongly reiterated his defense of Jackson with Larry King by...
So one supporting the victim who's trying to pretty much ruin Michael Jackson's name, and then, we got Donald Trump standing up for Michael Jackson, though? Hold on. But which one y'all voting for, though? Oh, the one that turned against the black man? Damn, that's crazy. That's crazy. So pretty much, Trump supporters are more for black people than y'all, than Kamala supporters. Surprise, surprise.
Going after the accuser's mother.
She's had plenty of experience at going after people. And she goes after them viciously and violently. And I saw a story and I read another story about some of the things she's done. And I don't believe it.
But you know what it's like when an indictment comes down.
It's tough.
It's presumption.
It's tough. It's tough to win. But I have a feeling he's going to win, Larry. The interesting thing is I've known Michael from many different standpoints, and Michael would spend a lot of time with my kids. I have beautiful kids, and at the time, like at Mar-a-Lago, and even in Trump Tower, the kids were very young. Michael would come, play with the kids. He just loved children. He was not a child molester, and I am certain of that. He loved children. He'd play with my son Eric and my son Donald, and he'd just play with them forever. He loved children, but he was not a child molester. And, you know, that whole final saga of Neverland and the police and what they did was, I think, a very, very bad part of Michael's life.
Man. Man, you know what's so crazy though? There's just so much more I could honestly lay in on. Like, oh wait, her AG. Yeah, her job is AG. Yeah, let's talk about these Prop 47, Prop 57. If you don't know about it and you're a Kamala Harris supporter, you should look it up. But you should figure out some of the things that she passed while being AG instead of just letting her tell you for herself. You don't believe anything Donald Trump say. Oh, I don't think you should believe anything Kamala Harris say too. You should investigate all of it, just like I investigate everything Trump says. Let's go.
California attorney. Tell us more about Prop 47. What did that do and what impact did it have on California?
Yeah, absolutely. So the sanctuary cities point is very important. She was for sanctuary city policies as the DA of San Francisco. And then, as you said, she actually helped to stave off federal action that would have stopped California from becoming a sanctuary state. But when it comes to the specific propositions that she facilitated as California Attorney General, Prop 47, and I'll also touch on what's called Prop 57.
Prop 47, Prop 57.
She was at the center of this by giving them favorable descriptions on the ballot, which is worth more than any amount of money when you're able to write the wording of the proposition in a way that will lead voters to think it does something different than what it actually does. So Prop 47, which has been behind the explosion of retail theft and open-air drug markets and fentanyl deaths to a large extent in California, just recently, the main architect of that initiative came out and said that he very much appreciated the favorable ballot description that Kamala Harris gave for that initiative as AG. And then even more egregiously, Prop 57, which came a couple years later and was this massive early release initiative that let tens of thousands of serious criminals out of prison early. She deceived voters into thinking that this was only going to apply to nonviolent crimes. In fact, she, on the ballot itself, characterized as nonviolent crimes such as rape by intoxication, rape of an unconscious person, human trafficking with minors, assault with a deadly weapon, domestic violence, drive-by.
Man, so all that, pretty much, you know, you get an early let out. You get an early let out. And man, shout out Anthony Lyons. How you like the Oregon versus OSU game? Go Ducks, man. God damn it, bro. 1 point, bro. 1 fucking point. What the fuck's up with our defense too, Anthony? I'm like, bro, our defense was trash. I did not know what was going on. I'm just like, you know what? I digress. All right, let's get back to the show. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. He just had to bring that up. That shit had me so sick. The whole time I was watching that game, I'm like, bro, we don't lose. It's OSU, baby. Hey, look, we down now. We'll come back. We'll win. Bro, we was up, and then y'all got up with that kick, and then for some reason, we can't make a fucking touchdown or defend y'all for some reason. No, yep. You got it, Anthony. You got it.
Initiative that let tens of thousands of serious criminals out of prison early. She deceived voters into thinking that this was only going to apply to nonviolent crimes. In fact, she, on the ballot itself, characterized as nonviolent crimes such as rape by intoxication, rape of an unconscious person, human trafficking with minors, assault with a deadly weapon, domestic violence, drive-by shootings, the list goes on. She said these are nonviolent crimes.
These are nonviolent crimes. So drive-by shootings, bro. And it's even been heard that certain gangs knew what it was with Kamala. They was like, dog, we can go over there, do drive-by shootings and all this wild stuff, and we'll get let out. Even the gangs knew that Kamala was sweet on crime. Nonviolent. Rape of an unconscious person is nonviolent. I mean, what's going on here, bro? Drive-by shootings is non-violent. I mean, I guess you can non-violently have your gun out the window just shooting it about. I guess you can do that non-violently. I can see it. Just flailing about non-violently, shooting a gun. Yes, yeah. Make it make sense. Please, guys. Please just make it make sense for your brother. And then let's go to our favorite video by our viewers.
Then after shit hit, the moderators try and paint the events of January 6th as though Donald Trump only told his supporters to march down to the Capitol and nothing else. And then after shit hit the fan hours later, jumped on Twitter and told them to be peaceful and go home. And this is not entirely accurate. What Trump actually said to that crowd before the events ensued.
And here's the problem.
Was that I know you will.
A lot of y'all will say, "Oh, this is hate videos. Oh, you don't know." Or look it up. Look it up. I've already looked this stuff up, man. Look, this is my channel. It's real infotainment here. I'm gonna look this up. I'm gonna show you the information the most entertaining way ever. How boring would it be if I went to these court documents, went to these manual scripts, and just started reading it verbatim, just all the way down the line, all pages? Like, come on now. It'd be boring. So yes, do the research yourself. I'll show you these videos so you can get the idea in your head. Even if you don't like the way it sounds, you want to prove it wrong so much, or at least willing to go look it up, and then you get proved wrong yourself. That's what I'm looking for y'all to do.
The moderators try and paint the events of January 6th as though Donald Trump only told his supporters to march down to the Capitol and nothing else. And then after shit hit the fan hours later, jumped on Twitter and told them to be peaceful and go home. And this is not entirely accurate. What Trump actually said to that crowd before the events ensued was that I know you will soon be marching over to the Capitol to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
And then he followed up hours later on Twitter telling his supporters to go home and that we are the party of law and order.
But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time.
And also Donald Trump was right when he said Nancy Pelosi admitted fault for not accepting Donald Trump's offer to send in the National Guard.
Responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. Should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
No, that is not a question of how they have. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for war.
Lie number 17, Harris says that Donald Trump incited a violent mob. Again, just covered it. Not true. Lie number 18, Harris claims that officers died in the line of duty on January 6th. This is false. Lie number 19, Harris alludes that Trump was charged with an
police did die the next day, though. Next day, yes. Not on the day, but next day.
Insurrection. Again, this is simply not true. Lie number 20, Harris perpetuates the Charlottesville hoax, even though it's been debunked time and time and time again, including by yours truly. In actuality, he denounced it an hour and 49 minutes after the events, and then 2 times after. Here's what he really said.
And you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
Lie number 21, she claims that Donald Trump...
Some of y'all still believe Charlottesville to this day. Some of y'all still believe it till this day. There's good people on both sides. Yeah, I know. And he also excluded talking about the neo-Nazis and those other guys. So what are y'all talking about? Like I said, the truth is right here in your face. Even if you don't like it in TikTok form, because I guarantee you would believe it if it was pro Kamala in TikTok form. So cut the BS. Just go look it up, dog.
Told the Proud Boys to, quote, stand back and stand by. So this is partially true, but there is a little bit more nuance to it than meets the eye. Donald Trump was asked by Chris Wallace during a debate in 2020 with Biden if he would denounce white supremacy and militia groups and tell them to stand down. Trump misspoke and said stand back and stand by, leading to confusion and people to think that he is affiliated with the Proud Boys, of which he is not.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities as we...
A lot of y'all don't even know who the leader of the Proud Boys is. That's the funniest part. Do y'all even know who the leader of the Proud Boy is? Most likely not. Most likely not.
saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland.
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared to
do
specifically
that, but
do it?
I
Go
would
ahead,
say
sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. You want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
Who would
white
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
Even though they are not a white supremacy group to begin with, their leader, Enrique Terrio, is actually of Afro-Cuban descent. Lie number 22, the non-biased moderators claim that Donald Trump's remarks about winning the 2020 election are completely false, and that also more than 60 cases were seen by many judges and all dismissed. The truth is that no judges actually looked at these cases, and there's actually quite a lot of substantial and tangible proof to show that there was voter fraud and tampering of evidence. Again, this is a huge can of worms, and I plan to make a dedicated video to this topic alone at some point, so stay tuned. Lie number 23, Harris peddles the bloodbath hoax. Trump never said if he didn't win there would be a bloodbath. What he said was there would be an economic...
Corey, sit on your fingers, dog. Sit on your fingers. You're typing too much. You're not actually listening to what's being said to you. So sit on your fingers.
Economic bloodbath in the auto industry.
We're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole... That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it.
Lie number 24, Harris claims that Donald Trump would be a dictator on day one. Again, this is just absolutely false. It stems from a town hall that he did with Hannity a few months back when he claimed that he would be a dictator on day one because he would shut down the border and drill, baby, drill. This was said jokingly, and it was very obvious in jest to anybody with a room temperature IQ.
Says, you're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one. We're closing the border, and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
So that sounds to me like you're going back to the policies when you were...
This is just a political ploy. Trump is a dictator. He wants to be a dictator. You're not going to be a dictator, are you? Tell me. I said, I'm going to be a dictator for one day. We're going to do two things. The border, we're going to make it so tight you can't get in unless you come in legally. And the other is energy. We're going to drill, baby, drill. After that, I'm not going to be a dictator. So I said, I'm going to be a dictator for one day. They cut it. They go, I'm going to be a dictator. But they cut the rest of the sentence. No, I am not going to be a dictator. I'm going to manage like we did.
25, Harris claims that Trump told Putin, quote, you can do whatever you want and you can go into Ukraine, end quote. This is simply not true. There is no evidence to support this wild-ass cockamamie claim.
Bro, none
whatsoever. Line number 26, Harris claims that...
Sure, I even looked that one up myself. I'm like, I'm sorry, that just sounds so wild to say. It don't even make sense. It's like, y'all just believe anything. You could go look it up and you won't find no evidence of it. That's how crazy some of y'all are just believing what Tim Walz, Kamala Harris, CNN, whatever they got to say. But whatever new thing bad they got to say about Trump, y'all believe it. It's absolutely crazy. Like, bro, every new thing they say bad about Kamala, I actually got to go look that mug up. I just ain't going to believe it.
Trump and Kim Jong-un exchanged, quote, love letters. This one is just kind of elementary and a little silly. So the actual truth with this is, yes, Donald Trump made a joke about this years back in 2018 during a rally, claiming that him and Kim Jong-un used to be at each other's throats, and then they started exchanging letters, and then they fell in love.
I was really being tough, and so was he. And we would go back and forth, and then we fell in love, okay? No, really. He wrote me beautiful letters, and they're great letters. We fell in love. But you know what? Now they'll say, Donald Trump said they fell in love. How horrible. How horrible is that?
Bro, we predicted
so unprecedented.
It was a joke. It was said in jest, but Harris was trying to insinuate that it's because both of them are dictators and they bonded over being dictators again. That's simply not true. In fact, there was a point in time where it was getting very tense between the United States and North Korea, but then Trump broke peace and became the very first U.S. president to ever set foot on North Korean soil, which I think is a good thing. I don't know about you guys, but I tend to lean towards peace. Lie number 27, Harris claims that Putin and other dictators are rooting for Donald Trump to get back in office, but the funniest thing is that Putin actually came out and recently endorsed Harris. Line number 28, Harris claims that there are no active duty troops in any combat zone anywhere around the world for the first time in a century. This is False. I'm going to be looking at my notes here. There are currently active duty U.S. troops deployed to Iraq and Syria who have been under frequent attack by Iran-backed militia forces over the past year. There are also thousands of active duty U.S. sailors deployed to the Middle East who are facing drone strikes. And just earlier this year,
Bro. Oh my God, bro. Kid Hogan, bro. Go sit on your fingers, G. Go sit on your fingers, dog. You gotta sit on your fingers for a little bit, dog. Sit on your fingers, dog. Bro, what? Oh my God. I'm sorry. Just sit on your fingers, G. I don't even understand why. What? Bro just said in the video that if you don't understand that Donald Trump was joking about the dictator for a day thing, you got room temperature IQ and you can't take a joke for some reason. Like, obviously he was joking within that context of, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a dictator for the day and I'm just gonna get these main things I said I was gonna get done and I'm good. I'm not gonna be a dictator no more. Bro going like, oh, I bet you won't talk about that dictator stuff. I'm like, sit on your hands now. Sit on your hands, okay? Just sit on your hands. Everybody else free to disagree, but those two, I just kicked out. Y'all sit on your hands and just listen.
3 U.S. soldiers were killed on the border of Syria by Iran-backed forces. Lie number 29, she claims that Donald Trump called for the death of the Central Park Five. So again, I've already debunked this. Go look for my video called Epic Debunking that I mentioned earlier. I go much more in depth there, but again, I will just briefly say there is absolutely no proof that Donald Trump called for their execution. Did Donald Trump think they were guilty? Yes. Does he still think that they're guilty even though they were legally exonerated? Yes. Does that mean that he actively called for their execution? No, it does not. Read the article in its entirety. Don't listen to other people tell you what it says. Read what it says. Lie number 30. She claims that her and Joe Biden capped the cost of insulin at $35. Again, I've already debunked this and covered it before, but I'll cover it briefly once more. Donald Trump was the one to cap the cost of insulin at $35.
To just $35 a month per type of insulin, and some plans may offer it free. So for everybody that was getting ripped off and paying tremendous prices, senior citizens, is a tremendous saving.
It is President Biden.
Yep. One of the benefits that a lot of people with diabetics don't even know that was Donald Trump that got that for them. Like, trust me. And like, I know people in my family that got diabetes voting for Kamala Harris don't even know that the reason they're paying so low for their insulin is because Trump was being a real one. Don't even know.
Type of insulin, and some plans may offer it free. So for everybody that was getting ripped off and paying tremendous prices, senior citizens, is a tremendous saving.
It is President Biden and I that took on Big Pharma and finally capped the cost of insulin for our seniors at $35 a month. But Donald Trump and his running mate intend to get rid of our $35 cap on insulin.
Lie number 31. Harris claims that she is fine with private insurance, but her comments in the past would suggest that that is a flat-out lie.
Up on that, and correct me if I'm wrong, to reiterate, you support the Medicare for All bill, I think initially co-sponsored by Senator Bernie Sanders. You're also a co-sponsor on it. I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance. So for people out there who like their insurance, they don't get to keep it?
Well, listen, the idea is that everyone gets access to medical care. Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
And finally,
man, such a lazy answer.
Lie number 32, she claims that her and Joe Biden created 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. This is simply not true. The BLS shows that 592,000 of those manufacturing jobs were recovered from COVID. Donald Trump alone created 414,000 of those manufacturing jobs, and the Biden-Harris administration only created 173,000 new manufacturing jobs. When you factor in all of her bullshit lies, Kamala Harris had...
When you factor in every lie she told, man, it kind of just proves that the only thing she has to run on is, well, bad man Trump. Orange man bad. Want. It's like nothing of no real substance. But for those who are, well, I guess lack the research skills or just have low IQ, well, yeah, I'm going to believe it and take her at her word. Why? Because, well, it's easy for you. It's easier for you just to believe the lies and hear the truth. Now, we're going to get into one of Trump's court cases. You have to call him a felon. When even I've said once these things go to appeal, they're going to start dropping like flies. And shout out because, hey, man, I do be right sometimes. And like I said, if you don't want to believe my man in the beard, go look up the court documents. Go read through it. You'll come to the same conclusion, and you'll just wish that you looked at the 4-minute video. But please go read the court documents if you don't believe it. They are public.
So the Trump fraud case went before the appellate court this week, and by the time it was over, the closing arguments of the Democrat lawyers was just them begging to not get sanctioned. So look, many people aren't aware that the Trump fraud case went before the appeals court this week. And if you don't know how an appeals court works, there are 5 judges that sit.
John, sit on your fingers. Sit on your fingers, John. Okay? I gotta treat y'all like little kids sometimes. I told you that. I looked through the court documents, found it to be true. And what the fuck do I look like? Excuse my language. What the heck do I look like reading through an entire court document to y'all, and y'all just gonna get bored and fall asleep? I mean, come on now. Infotainment for a reason. So you can go do it yourself, though. I mean, don't be lazy, John. I done kicked you out the chat. Go use them fingers and go Google the court documents. Now I done freed up your hands. You should be happy. I done freed up y'all hands. Go do some research. And shout out Iron of Liverpool, man. Love Trump from Liverpool, England, bro. Appreciate the support, man. Shout out England.
In judgment for these cases. And they basically let the prosecution.
Hold on, bro. I got to give y'all celebrations, man. I do appreciate the support in the chat. Man. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all so much.
And the defense both lay out their cases. And their job is to consider whether or not the case was worth hearing in the first place. And it went so badly for the Democrat lawyers that by the end of it, their closing arguments was just them begging to not get sanctioned. So they argued a ton of different things throughout this case. But the biggest thing was the judges kept interrupting them. They kept saying, hold on. Can you find me one other time in history where the person who took the loan was able to call the bank that they took the loan from, and then that bank showed up and said, we weren't defrauded? And the lawyers spent like 2 hours trying to find one little instance where it happened. But then the judges said, okay, let's try something else. They said, hey, have you ever prosecuted someone for lying about the value of a property when it resulted in the entire loan being paid back with interest? And again, they gave them like 2 hours to try to explain their case, and they still couldn't produce a single case where that had happened. And then the judges said, hey, you know what? We'll give you another shot. They said, have you ever seen an attorney general prosecute a case where there was no damage to the public? There was no damage to the person you said was defrauded, and there was no actual malice committed by the person who took the loan. And then they took another like 6 hours on that one. And by the end of it, the judges were like, so you don't have any instance of that happening? And then by the time they were done, the judges were like, I don't even know if this is a case that should have been brought. And they said, look, y'all might need to be sanctioned for bringing this case in a malicious manner. One of the judges actually said, I have come to believe that since a case like this has never been brought in the history of the country, not only New York, that you have only brought this case because the person was running for president, which would put you afoul of not only...
That's actually not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. God's child, that's not a bad idea.
Multiple regulations regarding the law, but would also run you afoul of electioneering interference. In fact, at the end of it, when they got to give their closing arguments, instead of arguing the value of their case, instead of arguing that like we should have been able to bring this case because of X and Y and all this shit, they actually just said at the end, we hope that the court will take into account that lawyers need to be able to bring cases like this without the threat of sanction. Basically, they were saying, we hope that you decide that we're not going to get in trouble for bringing this bullshit case. That was what happened at the appellate court. So Trump being found guilty of fraud and having to pay 500 some odd million fucking dollars, and the whole left celebrating about that, he's going to get all that money back because the appellate court was like, this is a bullshit case. The people he took the loan from literally...
Like, now, I'm only going to explain this one good time because somebody made a hilarious point in the chat. Pretty much later, like, oh, like using Twitter is like using Wikipedia for whatchamacallit, for politics. I'm just like, well, if you were smart in school, if you were a smart person in school, you didn't use Wikipedia as a citation. You went down to the sources where because Wikipedia doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that anybody can edit it. And if you can go down to the citations of where they got the information, you can click on there and see if the information is there for yourself. It's the same concept with this, right? Because you're right. I could show you a very like right-leaning influencer that could try to sway you in another way, but he's providing you factual information. But the only way you're going to understand that is if you go out there and look for it yourself. So I don't really like doing all the work for people. I just like providing things in an entertainment way. But you can always go out there and do the work for yourself. And you're going to be more proud of yourself for it. I'll tell you that.
Came to court.
It's like, y'all want people to spoon feed you, but come on now. You're a grown adult.
Trump being found guilty of fraud and having to pay 500 some odd million fucking dollars,
and shout out Yelena, appreciate the support. Thank you for showing the truth, my brother. No problem, sis. I got you. The
whole left celebrating about that. He's gonna get all that money back because the appellate court was like, this is a bullshit case. The people he took the loan from literally came to court on his behalf and said, hey, we weren't defrauded. We knew he overvalued Mar-a-Lago. We took that into our calculations. And even if we had taken that into our calculations and the value of Mar-a-Lago was part of 0.14, like the president of Deutsche Bank said, you know why we gave him the loan? It had nothing to do with the value of Mar-a-Lago. It had to do with we given him 21 other loans.
Yeah. Oh, he defrauded for a bank loan. No, the bank loan, the bank was, one, the bank got his money back. So what the fraud? And then two, the bank even said that, well, we didn't give him the loan off the price of his Mar-a-Lago home. No, we did not. We gave it to him because we loaned this man 21 times before. So what the hell is a 22nd time? Like, shit. Obviously, he's good paying back his loans, right? Right.
And he has paid back all 21 with interest. We were giving him the loan regardless of the value of anything. And that's where the appellate court was like, how do you have a case? Deutsche Bank literally said we were giving him the loan regardless. And that's when they started begging to not get sanctioned. So yeah, that's what happened with the...
And if you don't think that some of these are also going to go to the appeals courts and get dropped, you're tripping. You don't understand. These charges are going to start dropping like flies. And it's only because, well, they made it easy. They kind of made it easy for my man. I mean, when you lie on somebody so hard to a point where it's just like, dog, you brought him to court. You brought a conviction against him. I mean, at this point, he should be able to sue you for slander. And we're going to get into one more conspiracy with Tucker, man. Let's get into this January 6th.
Most of it goes unmentioned because
actually,
they're talking about something
before we
else.
go into January 6th, I do want to bring up one thing because y'all is hella biased. Because if we're going to talk about January 6th, can we talk about January 6th, I don't know, in like a fair capacity here? Like somewhere where we can be fair about it. Like, I don't know, like this. This is a perfect way. This is fair. Perfect fairness. You know, we're looking at it for what it is. Man, the outrage is manufactured. So, let's go down it. I'm pretty sure y'all can see it. Make sure, just zoom in a little bit more. Or that, yep, there we go. All right, BLM riots, right? So 500 plus BLM riots. First is January 6th. One's committed by the left wing, by the right wing. One lasted 7 whole months. And then, you know, on the right wing only lasted like a couple hours. Then you got one of 20 plus unalivings by the participants. 0 unalivings by the participants on January 6th. Of, you know, given that an officer did die the next day. Hundreds of small businesses destroyed under the BLM riots. No small business destroyed under January 6th. 150 plus federal buildings damaged. One federal building damage under January 6th. Really though. But it was an insurrection. There was on government property. What about BLM? Well, okay, we're picking and choosing. I get it. $1 billion to $2 billion in damages. 1.5 million. Just a million. I mean, come on now. 1.5 million in damages. January 6th. 2,037 officers assaulted. 140 officers assaulted. Either way, there was officers assaulted, which is bad. But 2,000 compared to a fourth. Boy, look, I'd rather be an officer on January 6th than during the BLM riots. I'll tell you that right now. Protesters bailed out. Chrissy Teigen and other celebrities. Man, protesters kept in solitary confinement. I mean, that's not only seem fair to me, but I guess. Encouraged by media and politicians. So Tim Walz came out and said it was a good thing. Kamala Harris came out and said it was a good thing. So, yeah. And let's see, encouraged by fringe political groups and agitators. Downplayed by the media, exaggerated by the media. BLM, national encouragement, even by politicians. January 6th, national outrage, even though it was a much smaller riot. The fact you can even call it insurrection is absolutely asinine, considering we're matching it up right here. Like, bro, you take away the names, which one look more like an insurrection to you? Take away the names. But all right, but let's get into this Tucker Carlson, because my man really did broke this down in the best way possible. So shout out Tucker Carlson for doing the whole January 6th thing. Shout out Tucker.
American society and to the world. An awful lot has happened to American society and to the world over the past 3 years. But for our media and political class, most of it goes unmentioned because they're talking about something else. They're talking about January 6th. The most solemn day in American history, a moment worse than Pearl Harbor, worse than 9/11, worse than the American Civil War. That's what they're telling us. It's hard to respond to this because even now, 3 years later, most Americans have no real sense of what happened on January 6th, and any attempts to tell them have been suppressed by the big tech company.
What? Oh, wait, that? All right. Yo, I love the receipts. No Jonathan testicle games. I'm not sure if that was a joke or you referencing somebody in the chat. But hey, appreciate the support, man.
These are shouted down by NBC News and CNN and other news organizations. That's odd if you think about it. Why do most of us have no real idea what happened? There's probably no event in American history that was filmed by more people from more angles than January 6th. And yet, until very recently, no one had put together a timeline. What happened? People walked, some of them from the White House to the Capitol. Some of them went inside the building. And we've been talking about the aftermath. But how did all of that happen? It's on tape. Why haven't we seen it?
Why?
Well, if you've watched Joe Biden recently, you know why you haven't seen it. Because January 6th is a perfect way for the Democratic Party, and by the way, the Republican Party, for the party that controls this country, the Uniparty, to get what it wants, to suppress the population, to keep Donald Trump from running for president again, and to put its enemies in jail. Just the other day, Joe Biden, often derided as senile, didn't seem senile at all as he gave a speech about January 6th. He seemed like a fascist. Watch this. Watch Joe Biden celebrate the fact that his political opponents were sent to prison, and listen as the crowd applauds him, bragging about how these Trump voters are rotting in prison. Watch.
Since that day, more than 1,200 people have been charged for their assault on the Capitol. Nearly 900 of them have been convicted or pled guilty. Collectively to date, they have been sentenced to more than 840 years in prison. What's Trump done? Instead of calling them criminals, he's called these insurrectionists patriots.
He's a vicious and cruel and hollow man and rarely gets the credit for any of that. But it was on display in that speech. It's on display all around us. And the only reason they get away with it is because, again, most of us have no real idea what actually happened on January 6th. But it is knowable because it was filmed from thousands of angles, and that tape still exists.
So let's get ready to look at it, chat, and I'll be right back.
To some extent, it's still being suppressed by the Republican Speaker of the House, by the way, who could release it but hasn't. Memo to the Speaker, go ahead and release that video. But there's still enough in the public domain that a group of filmmakers decided to put it all together. Now, there's very little editorial commentary in their new documentary. It's called January 6th, A True Timeline, and it should be the most famous film in the United States, but it's not. We're hoping that changes soon. The movie lays out the day's events moment by moment. It shows you what actually happened at the Capitol from video that they did not shoot, but collected once again from the public domain, in some cases from liberal journalists who were on the scene. And they discovered a lot. For example, at 2:24, while crowds outside the Capitol were still growing, the President Trump, tweeted this: "The USA demands the truth." That's a very famous tweet. The January 6th Special Commission, the fake committee of liars who, quote, investigated January 6th, made reference to that tweet repeatedly. They claimed it was the reason that protesters breached the Capitol. But that's a lie, like so much of what they said. Video from that day collected in this documentary tells a very different story. At the moment that Trump tweeted that, Metro Police, law enforcement on the scene, appeared to have...
Hey, and shout out the Vaughn Budge 100. Appreciate the $5, man. I appreciate you just showing my support. These Jonathan Testicle lefties have gone off the deep end. Appreciate the work. Hey, man, appreciate you too, big dog. Appreciate it. Shout out to all the supporters, man. Appreciate y'all.
Have accidentally tear gassed themselves and run away from the scene. That's what the video shows. And that left a path to the Capitol wide open. But assess for yourself. Here's the video.
Our investigation found that immediately after the president's 2:24 p.m. tweet, the crowds both outside the Capitol and inside the Capitol surged.
What the January 6th committee failed to mention was that it was officers misusing munitions and CS gas at that same time that led to a surge.
Hey, Rich. So it wasn't Donald Trump's tweet. It was the fact that an officer misused a gas or a gas gun.
D.C. MPD Officer Cowery, at the urging of Officer Thau, misfires a CS gas canister that eventually forces police to fall back and lose their position.
Oh, I mean...
As officers on the West Plaza, unequipped with gas masks, struggle breathing, the plume of CS gas...
Yo, your own people hit y'all with gas. None of y'all got gas masks. So y'all all got to lose ground and evacuate that area. So what? The protesters can push their way in pretty much.
Gas can be seen from the overhead camera on the lower right corner of your screen. It blows over the entire area of the West Plaza that the police had secured for nearly an hour. Within 3 minutes of the officer's CS gas misfire, the police line on the West Plaza entirely collapses.
Yo.
So we now know that there were more than 200 plainclothes federal informants in the crowd. Some of them were already inside the Capitol before it was, quote, breached, before law enforcement opened the doors for the protesters in some cases. They were already inside, so you can draw your own conclusions. That tape, and some of the Capitol Police had nothing to do with any kind of setup. In fact, they were the victims of it. As you could see in that clip, law enforcement on the scene were completely overwhelmed, and the body cam video shot throughout the day shows that. You see cops repeatedly telling each other that leadership has failed them, and that's true, and that they've been, quote, set up. Watch this.
At 2:33 p.m.,
Appreciate you, man. I got it. Appreciate y'all in the chat.
Frustrated police officer can be heard venting about being, in his words, set up.
They set us up. That's what they did. They set us up. They set up 64. Oh, absolutely. And then they asked y'all to come 2 hours later. They set us up. They needed everybody right away. Nah, right away. They set us the up. So now we ain't got. We ain't got no mother. They set us up.
It would be the black officer be like, man, bro, we got set up, bro. Ain't no way they put us out here. They ain't at what? National Guard ain't out here. They just got us by ourselves. Big ass crowd. We done accidentally gassed each other. Man, what's going on, bro? We got set up. It's a setup. We ain't got enough.
At the same time, police officers discuss being unprepared for what they encountered.
I didn't know we were coming up for this. I would have made sure we all had our masks.
I didn't realize how bad. They set us up to fail.
They did.
There was no way we were winning that. And now you got at least 4 platoons that are just gassed out.
Yeah, literally.
Because us, 54 doesn't have masks.
Yeah. Well, remember, we're supposed to be rapid response just to buy time for the hard platoons to come.
They didn't come. They didn't ask for them.
Huh.
Yeah. Those aren't racist insurrectionists. Those are cops, and they know exactly what happened. They got set up, and so did a lot of people that day. It wasn't like federal authorities didn't know there was going to be a big demonstration. They knew very well. They've been talking about it for weeks. It's not a guess. It's proven. It's a fact. So they knew what was up. They'd been set up. Now, one of the protesters you may recognize from that day is a man called Jacob Chansley, often called in the media the QAnon shaman. He's the guy with the painted face and horns. Now, the media repeatedly told us that he and Ashley Babbitt, the military veteran who was murdered that day, the unarmed woman who was shot to death by Michael Byrd, that he was a threat to public safety and completely out of control. But of course, the tape shows just the opposite, as does this documentary. When Metro PD made their way to the Senate floor and asked Chansley to leave, Chansley complied immediately. He thanked officers and said, quote, "God bless you," as he left. Watch this.
Let's go. Let's go.
Thank you.
Come on, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
And that was said from one of the notable riders, the man who came in with a painted face with the horns. He's going like, look, man, I love y'all. We on the same side. We just not agreeing with how this election was ran. That's it. A protest. Protest turn riot.
Thank you, officers. God bless you guys. Thank you for your patience. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for your patience. We love you. God bless you. That's what they said to the cops. Right? These are the racist insurrections. Jacob Chansley did hard time in prison. But there he is telling cops he loves them as he walks peacefully, unarmed, out of the Senate chamber. So you may have concluded correctly that virtually everything you have heard, he screamed at you for 3 years about January 6th, is a lie. And this tape proves it. It's an hour long. It is well worth your time. We hope every American watches it and draws the obvious conclusion, which is that our leadership class is poisonous, power mad, and dangerous. They're the dangerous ones, not the people who showed up at the Capitol to protest the theft of their democratic election, the people who set it up in the first place. Joining us now is David Sumrall. He's one of the producers of this documentary, and we're very glad to have him join us. David, thanks so much for coming on. So you've been involved in trying to figure out what happened that day for the last 3 years, and you did this amazing public service for the rest of us by putting together this documentary. Tell us some of the things that you learned from this.
Well, I think it's the things we didn't learn from anybody else. The Select Committee had every opportunity with all the evidence to put a documentary out that showed what happened that day. And it's been interesting working with families, with the lawyers.
All right, man. We'll see you, Cool Bean, man. You be safe out there. Oh, he said God closed the bar. Yeah, be safe doing that one, man. But oh yeah, and if y'all want me, we can go ahead and play the documentary that I was talking about. January 6th, a true timeline documentary. We can get into that hour-long documentary if you want. Like, shoot, I got about that. Yeah, I got time.
All the defendants that we can find that we can try to help and go through this footage to find that their stories are all true that they tell. If you notice, nobody's been charged by the FBI for lying about what they witnessed on January 6th, which I think is a big point. But the discovery in this video, I think the public really needs to see, and that's why they've kept it hidden and dangled it like a carrot over the public for so long, for 3 years, when it tells that different story. And the hostages, they deserve to be released. There's no reason to keep people that were peaceful, guys like